Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Park Highway in Denali National Park, Alaska. This stretch of road winds its way from Denali Park Headquarters through the heart of the park with many stunning and majestic overlooks on the beautiful terrain. The geography here is steep mountain slopes topped with snowfall nearly year-round, with valleys filled with alder, willow, and a few scattered stands of birch, aspen, and spruce trees. The Park Highway allows park visitors an immersive experience in the wilds of the park. From this highway, visitors can hike trails and climb to vantage points to see moose, caribou, and Dall sheep. The predators of the park include coyotes, wolves, lynx, black bears, as well as grizzly bears. Near mile marker 7 is a steep mountainside on the north side of the highway. On September 11th, 1973, a man by the name of Alfred Johnson was out taking pictures for the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. Now, the source I have for this attack doesn't indicate Alfred's age, but I think it is safe to assume he was a young pup because an older man would know better than to do what he did. While Alfred hiked the pictorial peaks and sublime slopes, popping pictures of postcards unseen, something caught his attention. On the hill above him, he noticed not one or two, but 4 grizzly bears grazing their way across a clearing only 100 yards away from him. He was excited that none of the bears had noticed him being so close. It was apparently a sow with 3 larger cubs from the year prior. Spotting a spruce tree not too far from the bears, Alfred decided to do something that was apparently entertaining to him. He sneaked around the bears and climbed a tree. Then he began making sounds like a rabbit in distress to see what the bears' reactions would be. Now, a little bit of information about spruce trees is in order to understand Alfred's predicament. Spruce trees can be fairly large, but in this location don't get very tall compared to their southern counterparts. Their growth season is brief, so they are shorter overall. They also have branches very low to the ground, which acts as an insulative barrier during winter, but it also makes them easy to climb, even for grizzlies. Alfred watched the 4 grizzlies from his apparently safe perch high in the tree, but could see the sow ignoring his attempts to get her attention. He was under the impression that grizzlies couldn't climb trees and his shenanigans couldn't possibly get him into any hot water. He decided to keep it up, but she simply didn't buy the idea that there was a wounded rabbit near her. Alfred decided to continue his dying rabbit act until the sow suddenly raised her head and glared in his direction. She quickly blurred toward the tree he was precariously perched in. Once the sow got to the trunk of the tree, she looked up at the man for a few seconds, then stood to her hind legs. The sow reached her paw up into the tree and stepped one of her hind legs onto a lower branch, just like Alfred did to climb the tree. To Alfred's surprise, this sow climbed the spruce tree in pursuit of the source of that annoying sound. The sow somewhat clumsily climbed the spruce tree high enough that she could reach his left foot. Alfred was not only surprised that he ran into the first grizzly bear to ever climb a tree, but he was also terrified at the fact that she was close enough to clamp her jaws onto his ankle. This spruce tree now had the weight of a man and a very large grizzly bear precariously perched on its branches. I cannot find a source on the internet that tells me how much weight a medium-sized spruce tree can support, but I am pretty sure that the 2 of them were stressing those limits. As the grizzly reached the height of Alfred's ankle, she sank her giant canines into his flesh and punched right through his pants, socks, and tissues. Pain shot through Alfred's body as the consequence of bringing a foolish idea into reality hit him. Once she latched her jaws onto his ankle, she used her immense weight to pull him from the spruce tree by relaxing her own grip on the tree. The enormous force of the weight of the sow quickly overwhelmed Alfred's grip on the tree, and the universal force of gravity took over from there. As Alfred tumbled toward the ground, bouncing off of spruce boughs, I wonder what went through his mind. He must have been regretting coming up with such a foolish idea. I imagine at some point he thought he should have listened more to his mother when she instructed him not to tease animals. Alfred and the sow came crashing to the ground at the base of the spruce tree in a heap. He was dazed and disoriented, but the sow didn't waste any time in taking out her anger on that source of chronic irritation to her and her cubs.
Alfred lifted his hands to block her swats as she slashed him about the head with her claws, tearing his scalp severely. The sow didn't spare his neck and arms either. She slashed and bit him from hand to hand and back up his neck just to make sure he got the point of each of her teeth. As we have discussed before in prior episodes, when bears bite into flesh, they pull, which tears wound cavities deep in the tissues. These cavities fill with blood and cause painful bruising despite not breaking the skin. It is also these wound cavities that, if punctured by the canine teeth, can host serious and even deadly infections. By the time the grizzly was done taking out her frustration on Alfred, he had suffered puncture wounds from her teeth and gashes from her claws over his head, neck, and both arms. He was a painful and bloody mess as a result of angering this protective mama bear. When she had decided Alfred had had enough, she slowly meandered back in the direction of her cubs to make sure they were okay. As soon as the coast was clear, Alfred slowly worked his way back to his feet. He probably wasn't as dizzy from blood loss as much as he was from the violence and speed of the sow's attack. He tried to assess his injuries, but they were simply too many to examine while in the presence of an angry grizzly. His blood had soaked his clothes, but he was able to hike the 1/2 mile back to the highway where he had parked his vehicle. There is no source indicating how many stitches or sutures it took to close his wounds, but I am sure each painful stitch was etched in his memory. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I have a few questions for you. Do you think it is wise to make sure you don't make any noise that sounds like a prey animal while you are in bear country? Was it the sound of a dying rabbit that brought the sow to his tree, or was she irritated by him? What lessons do you think the cubs observed or learned by watching Alfred being mauled? I will be glad to read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below and let's talk about it.
Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.